Have you ever felt your chest tighten when someone said something that hit the wrong nerve? That sudden rush of heat rising to your face, the thoughts spinning so fast you can't even catch them? In that moment, it feels like someone else controls your emotions. They say a few careless words, and you, once calm, collected, turn into a storm. We've all been there, and afterward, we tell ourselves, next time I won't react like that, but the next time comes and it happens again. Here's the truth most people never learn. Anger isn't born from what others do to you. It's born from what you allow inside you. Every word that offends, every look that irritates, every person who tests your patience, they are not the source of your anger. They are only mirrors reflecting the things within you that still need peace. But imagine this for a moment. Imagine living in a world where no one can disturb your inner balance, where insults fall flat, criticism loses its sting, and no person has the power to pull you out of peace. That's not fantasy, that's mastery. The kind of mastery that monks like Shi Heng Yi speak of. A mastery that doesn't come from escaping the world, but from understanding it so deeply that nothing in it can shake you anymore. When you stop letting others define how you feel, you begin to see how much strength you truly have. Because the real battle isn't between you and them, it's between your reaction and your awareness. Anger feels powerful in the moment, but it's a borrowed power. It burns hot and leaves you empty. Calm, on the other hand, feels quiet, but it's unbreakable. When you learn to stay centered, no one can touch your peace, because your peace doesn't depend on them anymore. The reason this matters so deeply is because every second spent angry is a second of your life you give away. You lose focus, you lose energy, and slowly you lose yourself. But when you take back control, you reclaim that time, that focus, that energy. You stop reacting and start choosing. And choice, that's freedom. Think about the people who seem unbothered by chaos, the ones who smile even when life throws punches. It's not because they don't feel pain, it's because they've trained their mind to stay still in the storm. They understand that peace is not the absence of noise, it's the presence of clarity. And once you discover that clarity, it changes how you see everything and everyone around you. This video isn't about suppressing anger or pretending to be calm. It's about transformation, from reacting out of emotion to responding out of wisdom. It's about learning how to protect your energy, not by building walls, but by understanding that your peace is yours to keep, not theirs to take. Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you'll know how to reach that place within you, a place where words lose their power to hurt, where people lose their power to provoke, and where you, for the first time in your life, realize that peace was never something to find. It was always something to remember. If you've ever wanted to stop being controlled by your reactions and start mastering your mind, this is where it begins. Right here, in this moment of awareness. The power to never get angry or bothered again is already within you. It's just waiting for you to see it. The first step to mastering your emotions is to stop fighting them. The more you resist anger, the stronger it becomes. The more you try to push frustration away, the deeper it digs into your mind. Most people believe control means suppression, but real control begins with understanding. You cannot conquer what you refuse to face. When you feel anger rising, don't push it down. Watch it. Observe how it moves through your body, how your breath changes, how your mind tries to build a story around it. That observation is awareness, and awareness dissolves what force cannot. Shi Heng Yi teaches that every emotion is energy. Anger is simply energy, moving in a direction you have not yet learned to guide. It's not your enemy, it's a messenger. It shows you where you are still holding on, where ego still clings, where fear still hides, where expectations still trap you. When you learn to see anger not as a problem but as a teacher, everything changes. Because instead of reacting to others, you start learning from yourself. Every time someone provokes you, they hand you a mirror. You can either throw it away in rage or look into it and ask, what part of me is being touched right now? That question alone is the path to mastery. Because once you see the root, you remove its power. Most people never reach that level of awareness because they're too busy defending themselves. But there's nothing to defend when you realize no one can truly hurt you without your permission. Psychology calls this emotional regulation. Monks call it stillness. Whatever the name, it's the same truth. When you stay conscious in the moment of reaction, you break the automatic loop that controls most people's lives. You stop being a puppet of emotion and become the master of your inner world. And that mastery, calm, quiet, invisible, is what creates real strength. Imagine someone insulting you. They expect a reaction. They want to see your face twist, your voice rise, your energy scatter. But you stay still. You breathe. You see their words for what they are. Sounds, vibrations, passing air. Nothing more. Suddenly their power dissolves. The moment you stop feeding energy into anger, it dies. And in its place, something far greater is born, freedom. Freedom is not a gift. It's a skill. A skill you build through practice, patience, and self-awareness. You learn to pause before responding. You learn to breathe before speaking. You learn to choose peace over pride. It doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become powerful in silence, because the one who controls themselves is stronger than the one who conquers 1,000 enemies. And when you start living from that stillness, people notice. They feel your energy. You stop matching chaos with chaos, and suddenly the world starts responding differently to you. Conflict fades. Arguments lose heat. You become a calm presence that others unconsciously trust. That's not magic. That's emotional mastery radiating through you. The greatest strength is not found in dominance, but in discipline. Not in the loudness of your voice, but in the calm of your mind. To never get angry is not about never feeling. It's about feeling deeply and choosing peace anyway. That choice, made over and over, turns pain into power, reaction into reflection, and anger into awareness. And when awareness becomes your habit, you realize something incredible. No one ever truly bothered you. They only revealed the places where you hadn't yet found peace. And once you see that clearly, you'll never see anger the same way again. When you understand that no one can truly disturb your peace, life begins to feel lighter. You stop walking through your days on edge, waiting for the next person to upset you. You begin to notice how much of your energy was spent trying to control the outside world. People, situations, outcomes, everything beyond your reach. But peace doesn't come from changing others. It comes from mastering yourself. The only real control you will ever have is over your own perception, your own response, your own mind. And once that truth settles in, the need to prove anything to anyone disappears. The ego is what always wants to fight back. It craves validation. It wants to win the argument, to have the last word, to be seen as right. But the ego's victory is always short-lived because it depends on others. The mind that is truly free doesn't need to win. It already is free. It knows that calm is not weakness and silence is not surrender. It's wisdom. It's strength held in restraint. It's knowing that no external reaction can ever improve your internal reality. Every time you react with anger, you hand someone else the key to your emotions. You give them access to your peace. But when you remain composed, you send a silent message. I am not moved by chaos. That level of composure commands respect without saying a word. People sense that your energy cannot be played with, and ironically, the more peace you embody, the fewer people try to disrupt it. Energy recognizes energy. Calm disarms chaos. Science confirms what monks have practiced for centuries. The brain rewires itself based on repetition. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you are literally changing the structure of your mind. You are creating a new pattern, a path of clarity where confusion used to live. The old habit of anger begins to fade because your brain learns that peace feels better. That's how transformation works, not overnight, but moment by moment, choice by choice. When you begin to respond consciously, you become aware of how much unnecessary pain you once carried. You realize how often you let small things become heavy burdens. How a single comment could ruin your day, how one disagreement could steal your peace. But now, when you feel that spark of irritation, you smile inside because you recognize it. You see it as a passing cloud, not a storm. And with every passing moment that you stay still, your inner strength grows. There's something deeply beautiful about a person who cannot be provoked. Their calm presence doesn't mean they are numb. It means they've found something stronger than emotion, awareness. They see people as they are, not as their words. They understand that everyone acts from their own level of consciousness. Someone filled with pain will project pain. Someone trapped in fear will speak fear. And when you understand that, compassion replaces anger. You no longer take things personally because you see that their behavior has nothing to do with your worth. It's a reflection of their own struggle. This understanding liberates you. You no longer chase validation or dwell on rejection. You move through life with quiet confidence, knowing that your peace is not a reaction to the world, but a creation of your mind. And when that realization takes root, you begin to experience a different kind of freedom. The freedom of not being ruled by emotion, the freedom of simply being unshakable. The moment you realize that peace is not something you chase, but something you choose, everything inside you begins to shift. You start to see that every person who irritates you is simply showing you where your control still lives outside of you. The world is not against you, it's training you. Every difficulty, every misunderstanding, every unfair comment is a quiet invitation to rise above what used to own you. The more you answer that invitation with awareness, the less control the world has over your emotions. You stop being a product of circumstance and become a master of response. Anger thrives in unconsciousness. It feeds on reaction, on the instant impulse to defend or attack. But when awareness enters, anger loses oxygen. You begin to see how your own thoughts add fire to what someone else started. One small comment becomes a story, that story becomes resentment, and resentment becomes a storm. But you are not the storm, you are the sky. The storm passes, you remain. This understanding doesn't come from philosophy. It comes from practice, from watching yourself in those tiny moments when irritation starts to rise and choosing to stay present instead of reacting. That single act, repeated again and again, changes the entire structure of your mind. Your peace depends on your ability to stay grounded in awareness while the world moves around you. It's like sitting beside a river. Thoughts, emotions, words, all flowing past, but you are not the current, you are the observer. You watch without judgment, without grasping, without letting the flow pull you under. At first it feels difficult. The mind will fight, it will scream to react, to defend, to prove, but every time you breathe instead of bite, you weaken the hold of that pattern. Eventually, you don't have to try. It becomes who you are. Calm stops being something you practice and becomes something you embody. Psychologists call this emotional resilience, the ability to remain stable no matter what happens outside you. But it's more than resilience, it's liberation. It's realizing that the only real prison is your reaction and the only real freedom is awareness. When you no longer depend on others to validate your peace, you become untouchable. You might still feel the sting of pain or disappointment, but it doesn't linger. You experience it, understand it, and release it. That's what freedom looks like. Feeling everything fully, but holding on to nothing. When people speak from anger, they are speaking from pain. When they criticize, they reveal their own wounds. Once you see that, compassion begins to replace judgment. You no longer meet hostility with hostility because you recognize the suffering behind it. You stop asking, why are they doing this to me? And instead see that they are doing it from their own unconsciousness. That perspective changes everything. You don't need to lower yourself to the level of their chaos because your peace no longer needs defending. This is the essence of inner mastery. Not reacting because you are numb, but staying calm because you are awake. You see the truth behind every situation, and that truth gives you power. The kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't argue, doesn't prove. It simply exists, unshakable. That is the energy of presence. And when you live in that state, life no longer feels like a series of battles. It feels like a training ground for awareness, a daily opportunity to strengthen your calm, to live from stillness, to embody peace. Because the highest level of strength is not controlling others, it's controlling the space within yourself. When that space remains untouched, you carry an invisible power that nothing and no one can take away. That is what it truly means to never be bothered by anyone again. The most extraordinary change happens when you stop needing the world to make sense in order to feel at peace. You begin to understand that life was never meant to bend perfectly around your expectations. People will misunderstand you, judge you, speak without thinking, and act from their own fears. The moment you accept this as part of the human experience, a deep calm takes root inside you. You stop asking, why are they like this? And start asking, what can I learn from this? That single shift moves you from victimhood to mastery, from reaction to awareness. Shi Heng Yi teaches that the real enemy is not the person who offends you, but the illusion that you must react. That illusion keeps millions trapped in cycles of conflict and regret. Every reaction reinforces the ego's belief that peace must be defended. But the truth is, peace doesn't need defense. It only needs recognition. The more you recognize that no one's behavior can diminish your worth, the less their words matter. You begin to see that the only thing truly capable of disturbing you is your own interpretation of events. The event itself is neutral. Your mind decides whether to turn it into pain or into practice. It's easy to believe that control means holding on tightly, but real control is the ability to let go completely, to let go of the need to be right, to let go of the urge to explain yourself, to let go of the idea that other people must see what you see. Letting go isn't weakness, it's strength in its purest form. Because to let go, you must trust. Trust yourself, trust life, trust that peace is more valuable than pride. Every time you release the need to react, you prove to yourself that you've grown beyond what once ruled you. From a psychological perspective, this is emotional detachment in its healthiest form, not coldness, but clarity. It's when your emotional state is no longer tied to external approval or rejection. It's when your happiness stops being a reflection of how others treat you and starts being a reflection of how deeply you understand yourself. When you reach this level of awareness, you stop chasing calmness. You become it. The people who trigger you the most are often your greatest teachers. They expose the parts of you still waiting for healing. Every criticism, every unfair comment, every impatient tone, they all touch something inside you that still aches for validation. Instead of resenting that, you can use it as a signal. The moment you feel disturbed, you know where to look next. Not outward, but inward. That's how growth happens. Through awareness of your own reactions, through choosing silence where there once was noise, through allowing understanding to replace resistance. This doesn't mean you'll never feel anger again. You will. But it will come and go like a breeze, not a storm. You'll feel it rise, you'll breathe, and it will pass. You'll no longer be dragged by it because you've stopped identifying with it. Anger is not who you are, it's a passing visitor. Awareness is the permanent resident. The more you live from awareness, the lighter everything becomes. And in that lightness you discover a truth so profound, it changes how you see the world. Peace was never something to build, it was something to uncover. It was always there beneath the noise, beneath the pain, beneath the reactions. It only waited for you to stop fighting long enough to feel it. That's where real power lives, not in dominance, not in control, but in presence. The quiet presence that nothing can disturb. The stillness that remains untouched even when the world around you trembles. When you reach that level of stillness where nothing can disturb you, you begin to see life with new eyes. You realize that peace is not just an emotion, it's a state of consciousness. It's the awareness that no matter what happens around you, you remain complete within yourself. That realization changes everything. Suddenly, the noise of the world no longer feels threatening. It becomes background music to your inner clarity. People's opinions lose weight because you no longer measure your worth through their perception. Their words, their moods, their judgments, they pass through you like wind through open space, leaving no trace behind. The mind that has tasted this kind of freedom stops searching for control. It no longer needs to manipulate situations or force outcomes. It understands that peace is not found through domination, but through surrender. Not surrender in defeat, but surrender in wisdom. You surrender the illusion that life must always go your way. You surrender the false idea that others must change before you can be happy. And in that surrender, an immense strength rises, a strength born not from resistance, but from acceptance. Acceptance does not mean agreeing with everything. It means understanding everything. It means seeing that every person acts according to their level of awareness, just as you once did. When you see that clearly, compassion naturally replaces judgment. You stop demanding perfection from people who are still learning, just as you are. You begin to forgive faster, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Holding anger is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's purification. It clears your heart so that love, understanding, and calm can flow freely again. From a psychological view, this shift is profound. The human brain releases stress hormones when you hold on to resentment, keeping your body in a state of tension. But when you forgive, when you release, the chemistry of your body changes, the mind relaxes, the heartbeat steadies, the breath softens. You return to balance. This is not spiritual theory. It's science meeting wisdom. Calmness is not only a virtue, it's a biological transformation. When you stay calm, your body heals faster, your thoughts become sharper, and your intuition deepens. The mind in peace becomes a powerful instrument. And that's when life begins to flow. You stop trying to force things. You trust the timing of your path. You stop taking delays as rejections and start seeing them as redirections. The world doesn't owe you peace. It mirrors the peace you carry. When your inner state is calm, even challenges unfold differently. They no longer feel like punishment. They become opportunities to strengthen your awareness. You see patterns where others see problems. You respond instead of react. You rise instead of resist. Shi Heng Yi's teaching reflects this truth beautifully. Mastery is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to remain unmoved within it. When something disturbs you now, you pause, you breathe, you observe. The energy that once fueled anger now fuels insight. You no longer waste yourself on defending illusions. You invest your energy in presence. And that's when the miracle happens. You begin to live life as it is, not as you wish it to be. The sun still burns, the rain still falls, people still change, and yet you remain untouched. Because peace is no longer a reaction, it has become your nature. You don't visit it in moments of quiet, you carry it everywhere. It walks with you into every conversation, every challenge, every silence. And when peace becomes who you are, the world can no longer take it away. When peace becomes your nature, the way you experience the world changes completely. You stop chasing moments of happiness and begin living in a constant state of quiet contentment. The noise outside no longer has the power to stir storms inside. You start to realize that nothing external has ever truly hurt you. It was always your attachment to how things should be that caused the pain. The more you let go of that attachment, the lighter life feels. Every experience, pleasant or painful, becomes just another ripple on the surface of your stillness. You start to watch life unfold rather than trying to control its rhythm. In that awareness, you discover something incredible. The same situations that once made you anxious or angry now teach you patience. The same people who once triggered you now test your wisdom. You begin to see life as a mirror, constantly reflecting your inner world. Every reaction you have is feedback, showing you where you still hold resistance. The world stops being an enemy and becomes your greatest teacher. Every challenge is simply life asking, can you remain calm here too? And when you can, you realize that peace was never fragile. It was waiting for you to become strong enough to hold it. The mind, once used to chaos, will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will whisper that you need to defend yourself, that silence makes you weak, that calm means you don't care. But awareness will remind you that none of that is true. Calm is not absence, it's presence in its highest form. It means you are fully awake, fully aware, and no longer a prisoner of impulse. Each time you choose peace over reaction, you reinforce a new identity, one that is grounded, clear, and untouchable. You start to trust yourself again. You start to move through life with quiet certainty. The beauty of this state is that it radiates outward. When you're peaceful, your presence calms others. You become an anchor for people drowning in their own emotions. Without even trying, you begin to elevate the energy of every space you enter. That is the silent influence of a calm mind. It doesn't demand attention, it commands respect through stillness. People feel it, even if they don't understand it. They sense something rare, something steady, something they want to find within themselves. You become a reminder that peace is possible even in the middle of chaos. From a psychological point of view, this transformation rewires your entire system. When you live in constant reactivity, your brain floods with stress hormones, narrowing your focus and clouding your judgment. But when you cultivate peace, your body enters coherence. Your heart and mind begin to align. You think clearer, speak softer, and act wiser. You no longer drain yourself trying to control what can't be controlled. Instead, you conserve your energy for creation, not reaction. The energy that once burned in anger now fuels growth. The same fire that once destroyed now illuminates. And as your inner stability deepens, your relationship with life becomes effortless. You no longer force outcomes, you allow them. You no longer chase validation, you embody confidence. You no longer demand fairness, you live in understanding. You move through the world as a calm observer, untouched yet deeply engaged. Every breath becomes a reminder of your freedom. Every silence becomes sacred. This is the essence of true strength, the ability to stand still in a world that never stops moving, to look at chaos and remain centered, to see ignorance and respond with understanding, to face judgment and stay rooted in grace. When you reach this point, peace stops being something you practice. It becomes your identity. It's not what you do, it's who you are. And from that state, no person, no word, no moment can ever disturb your soul again. ChatGPT said, Shiburuka, when you live from that unshakable center, the world starts to mirror your stillness. The same situations that once seemed chaotic now appear organized because your perception has changed. You no longer see problems, you see patterns. You no longer see enemies, you see lessons. Every person, every challenge, every delay becomes a part of your inner training. Life is no longer something happening to you, it's something unfolding through you. You start to recognize that everything you encounter is perfectly designed to refine your awareness. The things that once tested your patience now build it. The things that once drained your peace now deepen it. Every moment becomes a stepping stone toward mastery. Shi Heng Yi teaches that a calm mind is not a passive mind, it's an awakened one. True calmness doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from understanding it so completely that it no longer owns you. You stop running from difficult people or painful emotions. Instead, you meet them face to face, without fear, without resistance, because you've learned that whatever you avoid controls you, and whatever you face transforms you. Each time you choose to face rather than flee, you reclaim power. That's the hidden path to strength, the courage to remain open when the world closes in. In this openness, something extraordinary happens. The boundaries between you and others begin to dissolve. You start to feel compassion where you once felt irritation. You understand that everyone is fighting a battle you can't see. Every harsh word, every defensive reaction, every act of anger from another is born from pain they have yet to heal. When you see that clearly, your heart softens. You stop taking things personally because you realize nothing they say is truly about you. They are expressing the limits of their own understanding. And instead of reacting with more pain, you respond with presence. That's how peace expands, not through force, but through empathy. This is where emotional intelligence becomes spiritual strength. Psychology tells us that empathy rewires the brain. It quiets the amygdala, the center of threat and fear, and activates the prefrontal cortex where reason, understanding, and compassion live. That means every time you respond with calmness instead of anger, you're literally evolving your mind. You're teaching your brain to value awareness over reaction, wisdom over ego, connection over conflict. This is how humans grow, not through perfection, but through presence. And as this awareness grows, your energy changes. You start to radiate something that words can't describe. People begin to feel safe around you, even if they can't explain why. They sense that your peace isn't fragile, it's powerful. It's not the silence of suppression, but the silence of mastery. You've stopped reacting because you no longer need to. You've stopped proving because you already know who you are. You've stopped fighting because peace has already won inside you. This is the essence of what it means to be unbothered. Not indifferent, but deeply aware. You still care, but you no longer carry. You still see, but you no longer absorb. You still feel, but you no longer fall. You remain grounded in a kind of stillness that cannot be taken, because it was never given by the world. It was born from your own understanding. And when you reach that place, you realize that peace was never about avoiding anger. It was about transcending it, not by escaping life, but by embracing it completely. You stop trying to protect your peace from the world and instead start shining it into the world. You become a living reminder that calm is not the absence of power, it is the highest form of it.